I'm super pumped for this match, guys. Let people know this is going on. Tell them to stop playing League of Legends just for a little bit and to watch some StarCraft 2. This is a great time to introduce your friends who don't necessarily play a lot of StarCraft 2. Introduce them to the awesome game that is StarCraft 2. Maybe let your parents know this is going on, your cousins, and just get people in here because this is awesome stuff. A potential upset on our hands. But these players are tied right now, and anything can happen. In the bottom left-hand location of New Kirk City, we have the red Terran player who is pretty much known as the king of Wings of Liberty, trying to make something happen in the new expansion. Heart of the Swarm from Team Incredible Miracle. He is MVP. And his opponent in the bottom right-hand location, showing the effectiveness of Blink Stalkers in the early stages of the PBT matchup, trying to come up with an upset against his Terran opponent. He is Feast.
One thing I really love to see from Feast is that so far every game, I mean, a lot of it's because of the way he opens, but he's been going for the High Templar attack instead of the Colossi attack. And I think that's really speaks to a lot of Heart of the Swarm experience, knowing that MVP is so fearsome with those speed medevacs. Colossi just aren't able to keep up with the multitasking Terran, but the High Templar, they have feedback, you can warp them anywhere, you're going to have a higher warp day count if you're going for those High Templar. So it all speaks to just being able to have greater map presence at multiple different spots on the map. A little bit easier to handle MVP if the game does go into that multitasking phase.
Yeah, I think that just the Blink Stalker play from Feast is really cool. He really wants to show off his micro ability, and of course, you know, a High Templar is going to be a natural progression from there. As it's going to take a little bit longer to try to put down a Robo, then go into Robotics Bay, and go into that Colossi tech. And when you already have a Twilight on the field, all right, let's just add on a High Templar Archive, start Charge, and then you have a nice composition of Charge lot, you know, into those High Templar once you feel safe enough to start researching that storm. But, you know, it should be very interesting to see what Feast does here. I mean, talking about New Kirk City, it's a relatively new map to, you know, to the game. Of course, it was not used in Wings of Liberty. I think it might have been added in the later stages when Blizzard was adding maps to both map pools, but you know, it's two players. The air distance, the air space between these two guys is probably going to be a big story here. I feel like if MVP can get those medevacs rolling, can take advantage of this airspace and the proximity to his opponent, you know, in the air versus on the ground, I think it could be very tough for Feast. But saying that, does that mean Feast goes back into the Blink Stalker stuff, because that can be very helpful in dealing with, you know, potential medevac drops?
It definitely can be. He's already got 2 gas with 3 probes on each of the gases, so Blink Stalker is a definite possibility. Chrono boosting out that Stalker to push MVP scouting SCV out of his base. On the other hand, MVP going back to the build he used in Game 1 with that fast reactor after Command Center, fast factory, so he's going to, if Feast goes for that Blink Stalker play, he's going to have the Widow Mines and or the tanks able to make a defense where he doesn't have to keep losing units to that great Blink micro that Feast has shown us.
Looks like Feast might put down a Nexus here. He has a probe there at his natural expansion. He has 400 minerals, and there it is. So going for the 1 gate opening, getting a relatively fast Mothership Core. That's something you can do on this map again. We talked about the air distance. You can send that Mothership Core over there and feel safe enough where if you see anything scary, you can retreat fast enough to potentially deal with that. So we'll definitely keep an eye on that. And, you know, Sean is right so far based on his prediction.
He is. One Stalker, 1 Mothership Core expanded. And one thing I really liked is the way Feast opened this game is he made it look just like the last game, right? He opened with double gas, 6 probes mining gas. So, you know, your conventional 1 gate expand, you might get a little bit less gas, but Feast knew that MVP would be scouting him, and once MVP sees that he's mining off 6 gas, MVP's got to be thinking about that Blink Stalker opening, and the fact that Feast isn't doing it is going to throw MVP off of that potentially.
Yeah, does he have an SCV? Okay,
SCV was taken out by that first Stalker.
All right, so we'll have to see if he tries to send out another one. But, you know, I love this play from Feast. Like, you're always going to keep your opponent guessing, right? Because if he doesn't have an SCV on the field, who knows what you're going to be doing. So MVP is in the dark right now. He has that factory. He has that starport, though, which, you know, a pretty identical build to Game 1. And there is the scan. Very expected. And he should know what's going on at this point.
Oh, yeah.
Oh,
I mean, a forge obviously means expansion, a cannon in the main base. He knows exactly what's going on. He can tell Feast is going for a fast upgrade and a defensive cannon. To deal with those Widowmine drops, the MVP has proven to be very effective at IEM World Championships. So will MVP go for the drop? No, he's going to actually go into front, saying, okay, if you're going to invest in the forge to upgrade and the cannon, instead of going for the drop play, I'm just going to head straight up the front door. Of course, Feast does have that photon overcharge, but, you know, at least MVP might be able to force Feast to use up some of that mother support energy right now.
And those Widow Mines can be very scary as well. I don't think there's any detection, you know, except for that cannon in the main base. Like, what about detection at his natural expansion? Oh, okay, he does have a cannon there in the middle line, but as far as an observer on the ramp, because I feel like the ramp is going to be a great spot for MVP to potentially place down some of those Widow Mines. He's coming forward at an interesting angle towards Feast's couple of bases, which implies that he wants to do some drop ninja action.
He might, you know what he might do is he might try to take control of Feast's ramp. If he can control Feast's ramp, that's outside the range of the photon overcharges, it's outside the cannon range, and it's going to basically make it very hard for Feast to transfer workers, and as well as put some pressure on Feast.
Trying to take that Widow Mine out, but MVP doing this very methodically. I think he left the Widow Mine on the foreground. I'm not sure where it went. Okay,
there's still one. Yeah, there's still one. Oh, he's going to run in here, try to get some damage done, but Feast has a sizable number of units. I'm not sure what MVP can do with this Green Force. He does cover the Widow Mine, get it. He has it placed forward more. He's also forced the photon overcharge. These Marines could now head towards that expansion and do some damage there.
Yeah, detection is still going to be an issue here for Feast. He's going to send the probe in to absorb that Widow Mine shot, and now going to send those Stalkers and Sentries to those Marines. The Widow Mine's going to take a shot at that Stalker. MVP has to be careful. There's a force field from Feast, trapping about 6 Marines. The medevac trying to save their lives, going to ignite those afterburners out of there. But there's still 2 Widow Mines in MVP's main base, but what's important here is Feast not taking economic damage.
Yeah, that's right. Only losing to one probe that was a sacrificial probe sent to walk over that mine. So, you know, Feast is not taking damage. And the cool thing about this is how much he's invested into the late game. +2 armor actually started before MVP's +1 weapons. Charge is almost done. He's now getting that Observer. But I like how he delayed that Observer to get these upgrades that are going to really pay out as the game goes on if he can maintain this upgrade advantage over MVP.
Yeah, of course, on MVP's side of things, he has a 3rd command center being constructed, adding on a reactor to a factory, probably going to, you know, of course, transition that starport onto that reactor, positioning his Marines Marauders at his natural expansion. So he's preparing for that later game, focusing on the upgrades, focusing on, you know, securing additional expansions. Meanwhile, he still has a drop returning into Feast's main base, and these Widow Mines are still going to be a headache for Feast.
They are. The cannon can protect the main units, but Feast has to sacrifice some of his army every time he wants to make an approach and deal with this drop. And those Widow Mines, they're paying themselves off so well. Each one has 2 kills, but you gotta think that's been, I think, 3 Stalkers and a probe. And for the price of the Widow Mine, it's well worth that investment.
Yeah, units lost is 6-6, but 675 to 300. In favor of MVP. That is huge for him. You know, especially considering, again, back home he has that 3rd command center. Feast doesn't necessarily have a 3rd Nexus. He doesn't have the ability to make that in his main base and float it somewhere else. But he is adding on additional gateways here. So, you know, similar progression as far as the first 2 games are concerned. Going for that faster charge, going for those faster upgrades, and again, prioritizing getting that Storm before the Colossi, which, you know, it worked decently well for him in the last game. We'll have to see if it carries over to this game. And I'm not sure if MVP was able to identify that just yet.
I don't think he's noticed it quite yet. He's going for the armory to continue his upgrade past 2nd engineering bay as well as on the way. He's now moving out with a sizable bioforce, and this is where he's really going to figure it out. He's going to cross the map and then run into some Psionic Storms and realize that Feast has a size.
Where are the High Templars? I don't think any High Templars are warped in. They're in the back.
Yeah, they're hiding behind the natural. The scan, I think I might have seen one of them. What's very important for MVP here is MVP needs to maintain map presence, because if Feast can cross the map and back MVP into a corner, the Storms are very effective. If MVP stays down to open, he can micro against those Storms.
Feast coming forward again. There's 2 drops going to the main base here. Feast force field's going down, trying to trap the Marines and Marauders from MVP. Feast coming forward with 4 High Templars as well. But little does he know, 2 medevac full of army, full of bio are coming forward here from MVP to the main base. Photon overcharge going down onto the Nexus, and Feast is going to have to retreat into his main to try to deal with this threat. But MVP doing a decent job here.
Taking out 2 warp gates, a couple zealots, He's now back in edge. I think he's got to get out here before the Stalkers close the distance. Use it, Ignite Afterburns to escape with minimal casualties. Some nice damage done there by MVP as he establishes his third base. But remember, Feast still has that upgrade advantage. He's +2 is done, +3 is on the way. MVP, he has a double E base. He's just now starting 2 weapons and 1 armor.
All right, it looks like Feast has 5 warp gates on the field, going to be adding on 3 additional gateways, adding on more High Templars as well, and taking that third base at the top right-hand location. So MVP is going to get those 3 bases on the field. He has that Ghost Academy that's just about to finish. So if we're talking about timing attacks from Feast, potential timing attacks, you know, like the one he did in the last game, trying to exploit the lack of ghosts, MVP getting that Ghost Academy down really fast, and he did a significant amount of damage with that, you know, with that drop. So I'm wondering if Feast is feeling confident enough to try to go for that storm timing before those ghosts could potentially get on the field.
It's always a tough choice. I mean, we know there's medevacs out in the field. You don't want to get backstabbed as you cross the map. He does have a recall, though, and he's moving across the middle of the map. MVP with 4 medevacs heading towards Feast main. Scan reveals there's nothing there. MVP goes for the drop. Will Feast recall, or will he try to just do a base race?
Never base trade a Terran is something I learned, at least in Weeks of Liberty. It might be different in Heart of the Swarm. You know, Feast does have 2 High Templars in his natural expansion, so he could potentially try to bring those up. Could be warping his Phoenix back on, but now going to try to be aggressive towards Feast's side of the map. Is he going to see this defensive posture that MVP has and decide to recall back up? No, he's not. He's coming forward with High Templars. There's a snipe from the Ghost. The High Templars are dead. There's 2 more in the back, though, trying to get in range for those money storms, but MVP is handling this brilliantly.
He is. I think Feast is soon going to realize he can't make it up that ramp. The concave from MVP is too good. MVP is doing more and more damage to Feast main, but Feast is now trying to defend with some storms returning from his natural. Zell warps as well. A great storm there on those medevacs. MVP is trying to sneak around behind the production buildings, but his army is dwindling to those massive storms.
Great storm there from Feast. He should be able to shut down this drop. Meanwhile, Feast is able to shut down the third base of his opponent, but has to be careful. MVP is starting to extend outside of his map. There's a High Templar trying to forward. Getting a storm there onto the Marines and Marauders, trying to get another one, but MVP is going to back away from that, and Feast is going to have to return home. He's down in supply, 143 to 120.
He's down in supply, but that's by about a roughly standard amount for Protoss first at this stage. And Feast has his third base mining. He also has 3 armor completed, whereas MVP only has a 2 attack. Starting to get the attack upgrades as well, but MVP does have those ghosts out on the field. As he gets more and more ghosts out, the EMPs will increase the number. Feast has got to add something else into his army to deal with the ghosts. That's why he's going for that Colossi attack.
All right, looks like MVP wants to get some aggression done of his own, knows that he has those ghosts, he has the Marines and Marauders, so if he micros correctly, he will be able to EMP the High Templars and prevent storms from happening from Feast. Meanwhile, Feast warping in about 5 Zealots on the left-hand side of the map in preparation for a counterattack when MVP extends across, so we'll have to look out for that. But again, MVP's supply, it's getting higher and higher, that supply advantage, so we'll have to look out. And Feast is trying to go towards those Colossi, but again, there's a window here that MVP can take advantage before those Colossi get on the field, where the Ghost can be very effective.
The 1 Templar tries to hide in the trees, but the 3 Marines find him and take him out. Yeah, Feast is back up his natural. Will MVP be trying to push in here? Snipes go down, 1 good storm, but is that going to be enough? He only has a few more Templar left. Of course, the third is totally unprotected right now, but MVP wants to end the game here.
The Ghost coming forward, 4 Ghosts going to be taken out, but I don't know if there's any High Templars left. 1 coming in for the main, great storm there from Feast, melting away a lot of the bio. There's also a High Templar on the high ground with 141 energy, so a couple storms available for that guy. Meanwhile, the Zealots still not going to be trying to counterattack there on the left-hand side of the map. Feast's third base is still mining, still up and running. MVP not sending any units up there to potentially try to deal with that. The Zealots finally get found and caught, but now Feast is getting those Colossi on the map. There's 1 Colossi just about to finish. Thermal Lance is halfway from completing, and now we're going to look for starports from MVP because he needs to be able to recognize his opponent's Colossi count, make the appropriate number of Vikings, and then, you know, in order to actually deal with the Colossi, because if he does it, it could be very dangerous.
It definitely can. Feast is moving out to the low ground. MVP is looking to engage, picks off 1 Templar.
Got to be careful with that Colossus. Don't want to overextend it by any means, but MVP is going to spot that. And is that going to get him to go home? He is max, so I guess he could be willing to trade a few bio. If he, if he can get a Colossus, I think that'd be a great trade for him.
MVP's definitely got the army advantage here going in. Feast doesn't have too many High Templar. A small squad goes forward to try to force some spells out. It's the Siege, 3 Force Fields and a Side Storm go down. Another squad's going to pick up this Templar over here on the right side, and then it backs up. MVP's looking to try to broadside Feast armies. It comes in from all directions here.
Feast is getting cornered here. He's running lower and lower on the storms. In fact, I don't know if he has any left at this point in time. Not warping any more in as well. Might have to rely on Superior Claws. Great EMP onto those High Templars, depleting their energy, and MVP is going to go for it, extending forward with those Marines and Marauders, trying to take down this Protoss army. More storms going down here from Feast, but MVP has a commanding supply advantage, melting away that army from Feast, and Feast is in so much trouble. There's the GG, well played from Feast, and MVP takes game number 3.